I'm in Dublin, Ireland, and I'm on a quest. One that leads me to Killiney Bay, the most exclusive neighborhood in all of Ireland. It's where the country's millionaires live. This is the place where I'll find Bono, the lead singer of Ireland's richest rock band, U2. I'm trying to find Bono's house. Which way do I?
That's it right there.
Just up.
Yeah, you can always see the gates up.
Excuse me. Is Bono's house?
Yeah.
Is it here?
Yeah.
How do you know it's Bono's house?
I got the rack. We can have the rack. We asked some girls. Yeah, we asked some girls in the train station.
Smile.
You'd expect one of the world's richest rock stars to live in a fortress. Which makes me wonder, who's his neighbor? That place has got to be bigger than Bono's. It's guarded with all the usual surveillance stuff. Surrounded by a 7-foot wall. It's topped off with some pretty primitive security features. I guess that's to keep out the riffraff like me. Hey, look at the sign on the gate. Our ambassador lives here. In this neighborhood? A guy on the street fills me in.
There'll be a lot of big houses with a lot of fairly wealthy people, celebrities and everything.
Oh, famous people? What famous people live here?
Well, Bono, Christopher, Enya is just up the road there, has a castle up there. And
the Canadian ambassador.
Canadian ambassador as well. Sure,
right in the middle of all of that. It's not a bad gig.
That's it, yeah.
If you're wondering, that isn't the ambassador's house. That's just the gatehouse. The real house is tucked away in the back of this 10-acre property. A local land developer tells me it's the largest chunk of real estate around here, putting even Bono to shame.
He has probably an acre, 2 acres.
We have more property than Bono.
We have more property than Bono, yeah.
It's so big, it takes 2 gardeners to look after a landscaped yard full of eucalyptus trees. It even has a name, Strathmore. Canada bought it in 1949 for $141,000, but today it's worth up to $35 million. I want to get inside, maybe rub elbows with my fellow Canadians. Hey, there's the ambassador himself, Mark Moore. You wouldn't take us in and show us around? And...
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
We just wanted a little peek, you know, nothing serious.
No, I know.
We don't need to see your bedroom or anything. Just, I wouldn't mind having a look at the lawn, you know?
Well, I appreciate that, too. Anyway, have a good day.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Seems like a nice enough guy, but does he really need to live in a $35 million house? Well, here's a thought. Why doesn't Canada sell Strathmore and buy a smaller house for the ambassador? The government would make a fortune. I wonder if anyone's thought of that. What's this? Oh, God. Turns out they did want to sell it. For 10 years, government employees said that Strathmore was too extravagant. In fact, it's almost twice as big as an ambassador's home should be. Well, this is my look inside. There's a full-time maid, butler, 5 bathrooms, 9 bedrooms, a wine cellar, even an elevator. It costs $200 grand a year just to run the place. But it needs a bit of work. $1.8 million worth. The government employees say Canada should buy a smaller place, like here on Embassy Row in Dublin. Hello. Good morning. Other ambassadors have their houses here. Derrymore. Still a pretty swanky neighborhood. The properties are so big, the postman even delivers the mail by bicycle. I noticed most of the houses around here have names. Does this place have a name?
It does. This is actually called Argyle House.
How hard would it be to buy a house around here anyway? This local real estate agent shows me what he's got for sale. Why do they all have names?
Well, I think there is a certain prestige, I think, you know, I think in number 143, Argyle Road doesn't sound quite as well as Argyle House.
Oh my goodness, this is huge.
Yeah, isn't it? It's surprising. Yeah. You don't expect it from the road. So you can imagine from the ambassadorial point of view, you know, entertaining and all that type of thing.
Right.
You know, it'd be lovely for parties.
Yeah. You can see the tent and the
exactly.
cucumber sandwiches and the crusts cut off. Yeah. They've been looking at selling Strathmore for 10 years. I mean, houses do come available that are suitable for ambassadors every now and then, don't they?
Yes, they do.
I mean, if they wanted to buy one, they probably could have by now.
And also, I think if they went knocking on a few doors with, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 million to spend, I think they'd find a reasonably receptive response from some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be interested in selling them a house, maybe, hey?
Oh, we'd certainly be delighted to assist them, yeah.
In fact, Canada almost did buy a place around here 10 years ago. It's called Clonmore. I could live here. Ooh. But in the end, they never bought it. 6 years later, they were looking to buy a house again. Real estate was skyrocketing, and Canada could have made $20 million by selling Strathmore. But again, they never sold it. I'm confused. Why not sell it? Then I find something small but important among all these pages. It's an email from Ron Irwin, the ambassador, back in 2000. It says Minister Axworthy, that's Lloyd Axworthy, does not want the Dublin official residence sold. Well, why not? Can Axworthy and Irwin just swat aside the rules and waste all those years of planning? The answer leads me to Ottawa. This is where I'll find the people who managed embassy properties around the world. I've been told about someone who used to work at the Bureau of Physical Resources at Foreign Affairs. She was hired after the Auditor General said the department was wasting money. It was her job to find ways to save it.
So I had a lot of reading to do while I was over in Ireland, and I had a lot of questions.
Joanna Golchieri gives me an insider's take on all these documents.
Listen, this is a fraction of the paper that was generated. You have a fraction of it. We generate paper. It's incredible because it's all part of the bureaucratic regime. It looks like we're doing something, but in reality, we're doing nothing. It's status quo.
I don't know, it's almost impressive. You don't know what's happening.
It's one of the classic ploys that they use to do nothing. Study the problem to death. So they study it, they regenerate the same ideas year after year after year, and in the meantime, nothing gets done.
How do you get away with doing nothing for 10 years? The answer? Have a great PR strategy. If you're asked why you didn't buy Clonmore, just say property values rose. That makes sense.
Maybe it was too expensive to buy another property.
Yeah, but if the other properties went up, I would suggest to you that so did our property. So it's all relative. The market's going up, but in fact, our property was going up at an even higher rate because it is such a prized and special property. So that doesn't wash.
If they had no intention of selling it, why not just say that?
Because that would be define the Auditor General. That would be define their commitment to be cost effective in the way they manage that property. It would be basically saying, we're not going to do it because we like our lavish lifestyle. They won't say that.
Well, if they won't say that, how do they do it? It says here the Bureau of Physical Resources is supposed to be in charge of all the properties.
The Bureau is reaffirmed as the single point of accountability for property matters in the department.
Which means that you have the power to sell things if you deem that that's the thing to do.
Or maybe not. One line that drops the minister's name in an email from the ambassador changes everything.
How come Ron Irwin can write this email and say the minister doesn't want it? So
well,
who's in charge?
I answer that by saying, how can he write it? He writes it because he can, and he knows that he can get away with it. Now, on paper, the Bureau is accountable, but in reality, the minister and his deputy minister and assistant deputy ministers have the power.
But it's so subtle. It's just one line. It's amazing.
But Peter, he didn't have to write more than one line. The proof is in the pudding. It had the effect. The Bureau backed off. We're now 2003, and you visited the property 1 day ago.
Mm. And it's still there, and
it's
as
still
it was
there.
10 years ago.
It's still the ambassador's residence.
Today, the Foreign Affairs Minister is Bill Graham. He didn't want to talk to me, but his PR person told me there are no plans to sell Strathmore. But as always, it's under review. I've got one last place to go.
This is it.
To the Department of Foreign Affairs itself. Maybe they have a job board where I can check into a cool foreign assignment. I wouldn't mind living in a fancy house. Maybe next door to a rock star.